Parents are constantly looking for stage specific, in the moment parenting strategies. How do I get my kid to do his homework? How do I get my daughter to brush her own teeth in the morning without me telling her to? And I know what is happening for a lot of parents is this constant pressure. Some we create for ourselves, but a lot of it is we don't make up. It's real. This pressure to do everything, to get everything right, to anticipate and prevent, and then also repair any negative impacts for our children. And so when there's a problem, when it feels like the kid's not listening, or there's harm, siblings hitting each other, child yelling at parents, real conflict, and also the everyday kind of weathering conflict of just feeling like something's not working. The place that we go on instinct is, I have to fix this. I have to be the detective, and then I have to be the problem solver. I have to figure out what preceded the problem. I have to diagnose it, and I have to come up with a plan. That is our instinct around everything. And what builds for us is this persistent sense that we're supposed to be getting things right and knowing things that we cannot know. And so then when we hit a wall, we can't make the child do the thing that we think they need to do, or we can't just fix the problem. What we start to feel is helpless and frightened. And that's what then leads to yelling, our own aggressiveness towards children, in general, doing things that we reflect on later and think, that wasn't me. That's not how I want to parent. Where it's coming from is not, I didn't have the right solution. Where it's coming from is the fallacy that we can and will and should always have a right solution. If we can first acknowledge, just as a starting point, this parenting thing is going to go in directions I could never anticipate. I'm going to be raising a child I have not met, and I'm going to have to keep meeting and re-meeting over the course of their lives. And the future is something I cannot predict, even though sometimes it feels like I get really close. I've had a lot of life experience. Sometimes I can guess, I can make informed guesses, but ultimately, I can't predict the future. If we can just acknowledge that, then it puts us in a position, it's a mind shift, it's a change in your stance. If you can acknowledge that, it then puts you in a position with your child to say, we have a problem. What is the, and then how do we figure out together the right solution to address it, knowing that sometimes there isn't going to be an easy solution. Sometimes the answer is going to be, this is a problem. And we sort of keep running into it. And the answer has not arrived yet, but I have some faith. If we keep talking about it, the answer will get. Curiosity and wonder are powerful tools for problem solving. I mean, think about all the places in your life where you kind of run into a problem you've never seen before, and you have to wonder about it. You have to ask questions. You have to kind of look around and kind of assess the whole context. I always use camping metaphors because that's where this comes up for me, is like, I can't get the fire started. Why? I'm doing the thing I've always done. And for some reason, it's like the moisture in the air or something. There's dirt on the wood. I don't know. I got to figure it out. But it requires me stepping back and kind of thinking about the weather and noticing things in the environment maybe I wasn't paying attention to. And I can do that because it's like low stakes for me. I don't actually ever go camping by myself. And so ultimately, if I can't figure it out, there's somebody nearby. I go with my husband usually, I go with my kids. I'm not the only one who's trying to analyze the problem. And also, it's a low stakes problem because, worst case scenario, we can't make the basic necessities of camping work. We're just going to go home. So it gives me a lot of like flexible, my brain can be very flexible because it's a fun problem to try to work out. And when problems are fun, we are able to apply a lot of curiosity and wonder to them. And then everybody's had an experience like this where you solve a problem in a curious, creative way. And you're just like, yes, that is cool. I like MacGyvered that problem. I figured it out. You feel like just like such a superhero. When it comes to parenting problems, it's almost impossible to harness curiosity and wonder in the moment when you realize a problem is a real problem and you're hitting a wall, because everything matters. Everything has high value, is relatively high stakes, and you really only are willing to acknowledge something is like a real sticky problem once you're real deep in it, you're knee deep in it. And then it's high stakes for that reason because you've just waded in too far. So, really, the best thing to do, knowing how powerful curiosity and wonder can be, you got to build like an ongoing habit of curiosity and wonder. It has to be so kind of instinctive for you when something doesn't make sense or you're confused or something just is challenging. It has to be on instinct that you say, what don't I know here? Let me step back. I wonder what's happening. Let me ask some questions. That has to be an instinct. It has to be a habit. And the way you build a habit is that you intentionally, in low stakes moments, practice the skill of wondering about your child. So let's say you get to one of those high stakes moments and you've watched this video. And so you're like, or you've watched the one before it and you're like, oh, right, here I am. You find yourself in one of these high stakes moments. You watched the video. So you're like, okay, this is it. I'm feeling like things are real sticky. I cannot solve this problem. The thing that I thought we were trying to solve is clearly not the thing that my child is having a conversation with me about. All the signs are pointing to this being a problem that I am not going to fix, at least not in the way that I'm trying really hard to fix it. That's your cue. What do you do? Because I've already said to you, you're probably not going to have an easy time harnessing a lot of like curiosity in that moment because you're feeling bad. You've waded in really far. You're feeling helpless. Maybe there's already been some negative interactions, yelling, threats, bribes, which, listen, I'm not opposed to a bribe here and there, but we pull them out and we don't know what else to do. We just sort of have to acknowledge that, right? So you're in one of these moments and curiosity maybe isn't like right there at your fingertips because you're still building your habit. So it's not like a clear instinct for you. What do? Imagine yourself starting at the start. You say out loud, okay, this is a problem and this is not working. First, you say it out loud. You let your child know that you know we're stuck. We got stuck. And then you take a pause. Now, I don't necessarily think a pause always has to be a break, like you need space from one another, because the problem isn't really you against them. The problem is both of you against some problem that isn't easy to solve. So you just take a pause from duking it out, from trying to work. Let me take a pause. And you say, let's just pause. Let me take a deep breath. Let me put my thinking hat on. You're role modeling for the child what we do when we face sticky problems. And sometimes just saying that can get you a little closer to a mindset where you can be curious and wonder and kind of dig yourself out, so to speak. But the other thing that I really like to do is to say, let's pause. And very often I'll say, you know what? I think this is a problem. And we started trying to work the problem. But now that I can see how stuck we are, this may be a problem without a solution. And I'm okay letting this one go. The potential impacts of not solving this problem right now are not that big. It's also okay to role model that for your child. It doesn't mean you're teaching them that rules don't matter, because in your everyday, every other time, you are being clear, rules matter. But what you're doing in this moment is saying rules are not rigid. And this one isn't working. So let's pause, let's let it go for tonight, and let's see if that opens up some space for us, for me, for you, to figure out how to do this better the next time.